The last time that I did a video, it was the organization of this pattern, which I will be starting to create the stall very soon. I also created a jelly roll of sorts. This is 4 different fabrics actually. This one right here, which is a very old Liberty of London that I've had in my stash forever. And I finally just decided I have to use it for something. I mean, it's not going to turn into something in my closet. So I decided to tear strips of fabric that are all about 4 inches wide. And I will admit that I eyeballed that. Most of them are identical in size, but I wanted to give myself a little bit of room if I needed it. So this is what I have that I created from fabrics in my stash right here, and this of course is just your basic white broadcloth. If you're familiar with Liberty products, their fabrics, you know that if this is 26 years old, I'm not likely going to be able to find it again without an extensive search, and I really don't feel like I need to find it again. I just need to use this. It is very comparable in weight and hand to these cottons that I bought from Japan recently. They feel identical. I would be hard pressed. If I were doing a blindfold test, I'm not sure I would be able to tell you which is which. I might lean toward this on the Liberty, but only because I think my eyes are deceiving me. I have to really just, I think I would not be able to tell. So this and this are the same. They are from the same place. I'm trying desperately to remember the name. This is the company, Master Fab. And when you order it, it comes pre-cut and it's wrapped with this, which in turn is a ruler. So I'm not throwing these away, but if you know me well, you know I use this type of product anyway for other things. Now for this, which I'm hoping to get to today, I need to kind of lay out a design. I'm going to basically just use a piece of fabric as a guide to cut the remaining pieces of fabric. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and start stitching. I'm going to do this one, and I'll just do all 4 of these. So these are the 2 new sets, and I think I managed to get an additional cut out of each. So yeah, okay. These are going to be quite interesting, and I think they're going to play pretty well with the other 2 that I made. So the first one is complete up to a point. I mean, it's the 4 strips have been stitched together. I did want to point out one thing, and I wanted you to know that I'm aware that this is happening, but it's not an issue for me because I'm not a quilter. So my strips were running in different directions when I cut them out, and as you can see I've got like this long, I've got white all the way down, and they're not matching up like you might want if you were making a quilt. I am not at all unhappy with this for a couple of reasons. One, this gives me a perfect excuse to do embroidery, and for two, I'm an Aquarian, and this is the kind of thing that I live for. So, I remember when I was growing up, my mom taught me that if you bought a shirt, and let's say it was a plaid shirt, I wear plaid shirts all the time, but if the plaid didn't match, now cuff isn't a good example, but where the side seams come together, if the design was off, then it was a poorly made shirt. I was fascinated by that idea. Like, I thought to myself, did they do it on purpose? I remember standing in a store in Atlanta, Georgia, as a 6-year-old, obsessing over whether or not the plaid on the side seam of a shirt matched or not, and who made it, and who made it that way on purpose. That was the thought process of a 6-year-old staring at plaid. So anyway, moving right along, this for me is fine. I realize that there are so many out there in the world that would be absolutely horrified, but I see options. This gives me options for design, and I'm very happy with it. And I knew that it was going to happen because, for example, I have this little dragon face snowflake print that actually should be turned 45 degrees. It is not properly aligned. When I made my strips, I did that because I wanted to get the most out of that piece of fabric. I also wanted to let you know that while I was stitching this together, I decided I'm going to use some interfacing, just fusible interfacing, behind my embroidery design. So instead of trying to obsess over using little tiny pieces of fabric, I'm just going to put a little tiny piece of fusible behind it and do the embroidery, and then I will line the placemat with the quilter's dream and make a back for it, and that will be a different video because these will need to be squared up, and I want to go through and do the thing that I do when I have the seam allowances, and that is I want to cut where they meet up like so. They fold over on top of themselves. So I had that row right there. And now that they've been snipped, they will lay, oh, this one didn't go all the way through. They will lay flat going back the other direction. And if I have any issues, like this one right here wants to try to give me an issue. So I will issuefy it by just snipping that one as well, and it will also lay flat. And then I can press this, down, put my quilter's dream on there, and then put the backing. And another thing that you can do is just trim these out. There are scissors. My daughter sent me this, which was packed full of little note cards, Debbie Mum, and they were all about this size. They were quite small. They were just adorable. I love them. I still have a handful, but I mean, this is a big box, and it was really full of those cards. So instead of getting rid of this, I mean, oh my gosh, look at this. It's got like a little place for if you wanted to put notes and stuff later on in your, after you've used all the cards. But of course, me being me, I'm using it as a safe place for my scissors. So I have, this pair right here is very dull. This is a pair of Mundial that are almost exactly the same age as the Ginger. These, I don't trust the fabric anymore. I might try to get them sharpened, but I cannot stand the idea of getting rid of them. Throwing these away would be a travesty. I mean, it's an interesting design. This paddle right here, or bill, I guess, is not quite as large as this one. The ginger just moves as smooth as butter. The Mundial is, no. I can feel burrs on there. So I'm going to use the ginger, and I'm going to show you how to use a pair of duckbill. So you don't use them like this. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. This is correct. So you just have your fabric like so, and you're just going to trim close to your seam allowance. So, and the rest of it, I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but these big long rows right here, now that they've been trimmed away, I think it'll just lay a lot nicer, flatter, smoother, and when I do my random embroidery, it'll look really pretty. All right, I'm going to continue on. All right, so I have set myself up here to sew with Brother Louie, and one of the things I wanted to show you is I just used random pieces of fusible interfacing on the back. And I'm just going to give it a go. I need to pop that foot, and we're going to see what happens. Yeah, I do like that stitch, number 78. I just stepped outside and walked around in the garden and cut some huge purple alliums and the first peony that I'll pop a picture up at the end of this video. All right, so number 58, I'm doing the same thing, right? Okay. Can you tell me about your day? Or are you just looking at the camera like, what? Huh? What is it? Is there something outside? Can you go see? No. My goodness. Did you play outside today? Did you? Was it fun? Can you say hello? Hello? Say hello. No? Okay. Okay, I didn't think I was going to get that one out. I had a little playtime with Bama, and then I came back, and I'm going to have to fix the exposure again. Oh, the trials and tribulations. Okay, so this is where that little flower design crept onto the fabric when I hit the button and switched the stitch. It's so weird that I can't get it to show. Okay, a little bit better that way. There you go. You can kind of see where the fabric has been perforated a little bit. But I'm going to do one more. I'm going to try to do this one more time. There we go. Much, much better. Much happier with that. Okay. I think having the machine set on a slower speed when you're trying to count stitches is a really good idea. but there we go. Okay. Okay, here's the second one. Let's see if I can back you up a little bit. I'm going to do a different pattern, and I'm going to just kind of do a cut through where I'm just kind of wobbling around instead of a start and stop, which is what I was doing on the first one. I like this one, but I will say it's a bit more difficult to figure out how many stitches each one of the single leaves took. Okay, so 80 or maybe 77. Let's try 77. Cross stitch, stitching. Okay, now I'll need to add some fusible interfacing and get the other two pressed and choose two different stitches for those. Alright, so the last top has been finished. I have 4. I thought I was only going to have 2. And that's not so bad. And I'll see if I can set it up where you can actually see them. Alright, so this is the first one. And keeping in mind I'm not a quilter and I don't even want to pretend or try to be. So I know that I have areas that do not meet up. And recognizing that, I sort of, after this one, I kind of exaggerated that just a little bit on purpose. So let's see, is this the second? Yeah, this is the second one. Oh, that's to that. Okay. There was a spot where I jumped, and I know I've got thread. I'm just going to call it ribbon. It's just kind of a cross stitch pattern, sort of crisscrossed. So I started having some issues with the thread. I'm not sure if it's a tension issue with the sewing machine or what happened, but I'm not going to do any more on this one. And this one I think was one, was it this one? Yes, right there. There's more of it, but that one in particular I remember being off. The reason I like that is because it breaks up that line of white. So this is more of a hopscotch kind of pattern instead of perfect. Alright, so I have these 4 that I will square up. I want them all basically the same size, this way and this way. And then I'm going to create a back and binding. My main objective is to use fabric that has been stuck in storage in my sewing room for a long time. So let's see. So each one could be different or each one could be the same. I might cut 3.5 inch squares. I don't know, because these are 3.5 I think, or maybe 4. These are 4, so 4 inch. And then just stitch these together in random formation and then create my binding. We'll see how that goes. And as you can see, I have quite a bit. I hope that you enjoyed the video today. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not already subscribed, please consider doing so. I would love to have you join us. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.